Alabama has long been home to some of America's most enduring folklore. Stories of haunted battlefields, phantom hitchhikers, mysterious creatures, ghost lights, and unexplained encounters have been passed from one generation to the next for centuries. While many of these legends trace their roots to the state's earliest settlements, others are far more recent, emerging during the age of the internet yet quickly becoming woven into Alabama's rich tapestry of paranormal traditions. Among the most disturbing of these modern legends are the mysterious black-eyed children. Witnesses describe them as ordinary-looking boys and girls, usually between 6 and 16 years old, who appear unexpectedly on lonely roads, at gas stations, outside homes, or in parking lots. At first glance, they seem like normal children in need of assistance. They politely ask for a ride, request permission to use a telephone, or simply ask to come inside. Only after a conversation begins do witnesses notice the feature that gives the phenomenon its name. The children's eyes are completely black. I am your host Hatter, along with
Scoot
and Cass on the floor, and welcome to and welcome to Investigation. Unlike reports involving documented historical events or identifiable locations, the black-eyed children present investigators with a unique challenge. Most accounts are anonymous, very few include precise dates or verifiable witnesses. Police reports are virtually non-existent, newspaper coverage is scarce, and physical evidence has never been recovered. Instead, the phenomenon survives primarily through personal testimony, paranormal investigations, podcasts, book, online forums, and word-of-mouth storytelling. This does not necessarily mean every witness fabricated their experience. History demonstrates that sincere people can report extraordinary events exactly as they remember them. Human memory, however, is complex. Fear, expectation, suggestion, and the passage of time all influence how experiences are perceived and later recalled. For this reason, historians and folklorists...
Is that a word?
I
don't think that's a word.
Folklorists. As scholars and professionals who study and preserve expressive community traditions, oral histories, and other folk culture.
Interesting.
Hang on.
I just thought about it. I was like, I'm gonna get this out.
We're gonna pause real quick, because Scoot has this fucking terrifying bust of a lady, and it's terrifying, and she thinks it's haunted, and so we have the EMF reader out, and I wanted to include that because if we're like, oh, the EMF reader's going off, it's because it's going off.
Because it's going off, and I haven't pointed at her specifically.
Yes, yeah, and she seems to be spooky, and since we're doing a spooky podcast, or episode, spooky something, I'm really tired, and my brain is scrabbled, so I apologize. But since we're doing a spooky episode,
it's only fitting.
It's only fitting.
And she agrees.
All the way up to red. Just because there is no evidence of the black-eyed children, it does not necessarily mean every witness fabricated their experience. History demonstrates that sincere people can report extraordinary events exactly as they remember them. Human memory, however, is complex. Fear, expectation, suggestion, and the passage of time all influence how experiences are perceived and later recalled. For this reason, historians and folklorists evaluate eyewitness testimony carefully, comparing independent accounts while separating observable like I said, my mind is scrambled. Observable facts from personal interpretation. Many paranormal enthusiasts assume these mysterious children have been reported for centuries, placing them alongside European fairy lore, Native American legends, or early American ghost stories. Historical records, however, do tell a different story. Despite red spread. What is happening to me?
I don't know.
Despite widespread claims that similar encounters date back hundreds of years, researchers have found very little evidence of documented black-eyed children reports before the mid-1990s. Instead, the phenomenon appears to have emerged during the earliest years of widespread internet communication before spreading rapidly across the United States and eventually around the world. Alabama soon became one of the many states where alleged encounters began to surface. Reports have emerged from areas like Birmingham, Mobile, Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, and even rural highways. Like many paranormal experiences, these stories do vary in detail. Some involve children standing beneath streetlights at night. Others describe them knocking on front doors during rainstorms. A few motorists claim to have encountered them while traveling the back roads through Alabama's woods. Now, whether these mysterious visitors are misunderstood encounters, psychological phenomenon, elaborate hoaxes, or something that defies current explanation remains uncertain. More than 30 years after the first widely publicized report, no single theory has successfully explained every aspect of the phenomenon. The black-eyed children phenomenon was born during the infancy of the internet, and it spread not through campfires or local newspapers, but through email chains, online forums, paranormal websites. Ah, my toe cramps! Oh, and it flashed all the way up to red. Oh, she is spooky, man.
It's went up to red a couple times.
We have to take a picture of her and upload it to our Patreon for this episode when it comes out. Be like, Scoot's freaky-ass bust statue.
Valid. Yeah, it's went up to red a couple times. I've just not made a note of it.
Yeah. Paranormal websites and early discussion boards. With only a few years, reports began appearing across North America, including Alabama, despite little evidence that similar stories existed beforehand. Now, despite that, we do continue to receive reports from witnesses that explain the children in the same way. They consistently describe eyes that are completely black from edge to edge. There's no visible white sclera surrounding the iris, no distinguishable pupil. Instead, the eyes appear as smooth, featureless pools of darkness. A few even claim the darkness seemed almost unnatural, absorbing available light rather than reflecting it. Importantly, not every witness notices the eyes immediately. In many reports, conversations continue for several minutes before the observer suddenly realizes something is terribly wrong. Now, obviously the most iconic feature is the deep black pools instead of eyes, but that's not usually what frightens people most. Those who witness them often describe an overwhelming sense of dread that begins before the witness even notices the child's appearance. People frequently report an instinctive feeling that something is profoundly wrong. Some compare it to the sensation of standing in the presence of a dangerous predator, and others describe it as an intense internal warning that defies rational explanation. Despite the children's calm voices and polite manners, witnesses often feel compelled to run. Another common feature involves the child's manner of speaking. Those who encounter them frequently describe their voices as calm, polite, and strangely emotionless. Rather than speaking naturally, the children often appear to repeat short requests using simple sentences. They seldom engage in casual conversation or answered unexpected questions directly. Examples of some things that they say are like, "Please let us in. We need to use your phone. Our parents will be worried. We just need help." Some witnesses report that the children repeated the same request several times without changing their wording, even after being denied. This repetitive communication has led some to suggest the children behave less like frightened kids and more like individuals following a predetermined script. Skeptics caution that repetition is common during stressful interactions. A child genuinely seeking assistance might naturally repeat the same request if frightened or ignored. To which I would also like to note, while that is true, it usually comes in the form of some type of stutter or repetition of the words themselves instead of just repeating the entire phrase.
Yeah.
Like, a kid wouldn't just be very calmly and politely be like, "Please let us in. Please let us in." It would be like, "Please," or like, "Please let us in," type of thing.
Yeah.
There'd be some level of variation to it. But speaking of being polite, One of the more curious patterns found in the witnesses' accounts is the children's consistent politeness. Black-eyed children are almost always described as courteous, they knock before entering, they ask permission, they apologize for inconveniencing a person, they often appear patient rather than demanding. Not only does this behavior create a contrast with the intense fear witnesses report feeling, but it also really isn't descriptive of a child who is experiencing a stressful situation.
It's almost eerie.
Yeah. Like, if a kid was freaking out, you can see it in their mannerisms.
Yes.
It's also worth noting that many traditional supernatural beings use politeness or apparent vulnerability to lower a person's defenses before revealing their true nature. As well as across Europe, countless vampire legends maintain that the creature cannot enter a private home unless invited by its occupant. Similar traditions appear in stories involving certain fae beings, household spirits, or even demons have to be granted access by the person who is encountering them. And the children almost always ask for something requiring permission. They may request entry into a home, a ride in a vehicle, permission to use the telephone, shelter from the rain, maybe help finding their parents. What they rarely do is force their way inside. Instead, witnesses often describe subtle persistence. The children continue asking. They reassure the homeowner. They insist that they mean no harm. Which, if someone looks at me and insists they mean no harm, kid or not, I'm football punting them across the fucking street, dude.
Instant red flag.
Instant red flag. Like, that's the number one way to be like, I mean harm. Is to be like, I mean you no harm. Some accounts do say that they might become increasingly firm after repeated refusals, while others state that they simply remain standing silently until the witness closes the door or leaves. Unlike many of the other paranormal entities described in folklore, the children are rarely accused of physically attacking anyone. There are no verified cases involving scratches, bites, assaults, or abductions directly attributed to the black-eyed children. Instead, the encounters typically end in one of two ways. Either the witness refuses the request and leaves, or the children simply disappear. This absence of overt violence has contributed to the enduring mystery. If the children intended harm, why do they apparently abandon so many opportunities to do so? Is she talking? Well, not talking. Is she communicating?
It's been going off, yeah.
She's vibing with us. Maybe she likes the story.
Maybe. Yeah, it just keeps it'll just randomly kind of go up to yellow, sometimes up to red. It's just kind of...
Believers suggest that the answer lies in the invitation itself. According to this interpretation, without voluntary permission, the children are unable or unwilling to proceed further. Now, the black-eyed children are not isolated to Alabama, and the legend can be traced back to a single eyewitness account that occurred in the spring of 1996. Brian Bethel, he was a journalist living in Abilene, Texas, I believe.
That sounds pretty darn close.
Yeah, it sounds pretty. So if it's not Abilene, like, at least I'm saying it pretty, you know? He was running what should have been a routine errand. According to Bethel's own account, he had stopped in the parking lot of a movie theater to write a check before paying a bill. He's sitting inside his vehicle, working on some paperwork. It's dark outside, so the parking lot was pretty much empty and nothing appeared unusual. Then someone knocked on his driver's side window. Looking up, Bethel saw two boys standing beside his car. At first glance, they appeared perfectly normal. The older boy looked to be around 13 or 14 years old. His companion appeared slightly younger, like 9 or 10. They were casually dressed and behaved politely. The older child explained that they wanted to see a movie but had forgotten their money at home, and could Bethel give them a ride? It sounded like an innocent request at first, yet almost immediately Bethel experienced something he later struggled to explain. The hair on Bethel's neck stood on end, and a few things struck him as odd. To quote, "His command of language was incredible. Something in the tone and diction sent off alarm bells." End quote. The boy's voice sounded much older than he actually looked, between the language he uses and his tone. So when he was talking, he sounded like he was basically a grown man, when he was actually like 13.
Yeah.
But something else that struck Bethel was that they were saying that they wanted to go see a movie, but the movie they were talking about had already started like 45 minutes earlier.
Ew.
Right.
Weird.
Yes. On top of that, long before he noticed anything physically unusual about the children, Bethel described being overwhelmed by an intense sense of fear. He later recalled that every instinct told him he should leave immediately, which nothing in what the boys had said would cause him to have that feeling. They simply asked for a ride home to get money. The boys were calm, respectful, and never even threatened him. Yet he felt as though allowing them into his vehicle would be an enormous mistake. His gut was telling him something off. So I am going to pause the story really quick because this part of the Black-Eyed Children is so repeated in almost every encounter that it deserves a little more attention.
All right.
Psychologists sometimes refer to this as an effective warning response, in which subtle social cues trigger unconscious danger detection before the conscious mind identifies a specific threat. Humans constantly process facial expressions, body language, voice patterns, and environmental details without even realizing it. Occasionally, those subconscious observations create feelings of unease that seem impossible to explain. One possible explanation for the overwhelming fear reported by witnesses lies within the human brain itself. Long before our conscious mind has fully processed what we are seeing, the brain is constantly scanning the environment for signs of danger. This rapid assessment occurs automatically and often without our awareness. Neuroscientists sometimes refer to this as the effective warning response or pre-conscious threat detection. I don't know what's happening. Rather than relying on deliberate thought, the brain uses a network of structures, including the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm center, to evaluate facial expressions, body posture, and countless other subtle environmental cues in a fraction of a second.
Not gonna lie, when you were talking about that part of the brain, I instantly thought of The Water Boy. Have you ever watched that? The Water Boy?
I want to say yes.
Well, it's Adam Sandler, and
I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember if I've seen
the scene
it or
where
not.
he's in class and he's the professor is talking about the part of the brain, what's it called? The medulla or something like that.
It's like the Melian Gala or
something like that. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Instantly thought of that.
We need to look up the name because otherwise we're gonna be like called stupid in 17 languages.
Probably. Hold on.
The fuck is it?
I'm looking it up. I'm googling. Hold on. Trying to find the actual Water Boy scene now. Because the
medulla oblongata.
That's what it is.
It literally just fucking dawned on me. I started typing Water Boy brain quote, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I know what it is."
That's instantly what I just thought of. I just thought of that scene instantly.
The medulla oblongata. This phenomenon has been explored extensively by security expert Gavin De Becker in his book *The Gift of Fear*. De Becker argues that intuition is often the product of the brain processing information below the level of conscious awareness rather than a supernatural ability. According to his view, what people describe as an inexplicable feeling of dread may actually represent the brain recognizing genuine warning signs before the conscious mind has identified them. This system has developed over a million years of evolution. Early humans who could recognize danger quickly were more likely to survive encounters with predators or hostile individuals than those who waited to consciously analyze every situation. As a result, modern humans have inherited an incredibly sophisticated threat detection system that frequently recognizes danger before we can explain why we feel uneasy. Researchers sometimes describe this sensation as a gut feeling or a sixth sense, but it's not mystical or supernatural. It's literally the brain rapidly comparing current sensory information against thousands of previously learned patterns. If something appears unusual, even in ways we cannot consciously identify, the brain may trigger psychological changes before the conscious mind catches up. And some other researchers compare the reaction to the concept known as the uncanny valley. Originally proposed by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori in 1970, The uncanny valley suggests that objects or beings which appear almost but not quite human often evoke feelings of discomfort or revulsion. Robots, digital characters, dolls, and mannequins that closely resemble humans without achieving complete realism can trigger this response because the brain detects the inconsistencies.
Oh, I've definitely had it before.
Yeah.
100%.
That doll gives me a little bit
Does she give you a little bit of that?
that bust gives me a little bit of the uncanny valley feeling. Now, back to the story. As the conversation continued, Bethel became increasingly uncomfortable. The boys repeatedly emphasized that they needed permission. According to his account, they insisted he had to let them into the car voluntarily. This detail has become one of the most defining features of nearly every Black-Eyed Children's story told since. Only after speaking with the boys for several moments did Bethel notice what made the encounter unforgettable. Their eyes. He later described them as completely black, saying, quote, "They were coal black, no pupil, no iris. There's no visible white surrounding the iris, it's just pure solid darkness," and that realization intensified his fear. Without another word, Bethel rolled up his windows, locked his doors, and drove away. And that's another thing. Like, his doors were unlocked.
Oh.
So if they were just regular kids that were like, we need a ride home,
They could have just crawled in.
they could have just opened the door.
Yeah.
But they don't. Weird. Yeah. As he pulled away from the parking lot, he glanced in his rearview mirror and the boys were gone. For nearly 2 years, Bethel's experience remained largely private, which actually says quite a bit about Brian Bethel's credibility, because he did not immediately rush to write a book about it or seek publicity in any way, and he's literally a journalist, so you'd think maybe he would if he was looking to get some sort of money or just publicity in general from it.
Yeah.
But he actually almost did the opposite. He kept mostly quiet about it because of the fear of being ridiculed. He did understand that sharing such a weird, unexplained encounter would probably just result in ridicule from his colleagues and readers of his newspaper or journalism, what have you.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it would be a bizarre thing to read about, or,
if you came up, well, that's different, because me and you are friends. But, if some Joe Schmo, if I read a newspaper that said, I encountered 2 black-eyed children, I'd be like, way to make shit up for, fame.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens all the time on TikTok. People are constantly, doing paranormal videos.
Yes.
And, half of them, I look at them, and it's, their entire account. And so then I'm like, you're making some stuff up. The one that I totally believe, though, was this guy, and he's showing off this, big-ass spotlight he bought for, going out into the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And he only had, 4 videos beforehand, and they were completely unrelated. They were, tools and shit that he uses in his life.
Just random videos.
Yeah. Well, in the spotlight, he, turns it on, and you see a hand go from the front of the tree back behind it.
Oh.
That's so creepy. And I was like, the chance of him setting that up, just he had 20 followers. It's not like he was trying to get famous in any way.
What would be the point?
What would be the point? Yeah. I was like, that's crazy. That one I believe. I still think about that one often. Bethel did mention it to a few trusted friends, but he did not make any effort to publicize the story. In later interviews, because obviously he does share the story eventually, he does say that the experience genuinely frightened him. During this time, though, life moved on, and he simply returned to work in everyday life rather than making the encounter his identity. Around 1998, 2 years after the encounter, Bethel became involved in an online community devoted to ghost stories and unexplained experiences. During a discussion about strange encounters, he did decide to share what had happened to him. It was posted to an early paranormal mailing list and discussion group, not as a formal investigation, but just a personal account of what happened. And by all evidence, he didn't expect anything to come of it. So
fair enough.
Right. He was just like, this happened to me. It's kind of like getting on Reddit and being like, this happened to me. It was freaky, blah, 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 blah. Now, what surprised him, though, is instead of anybody dismissing the story, people began contacting him and claiming that they had experienced nearly identical encounters. Some insisted that their experience had occurred before reading Bethel's account, and others admitted that they never publicly spoke about it because they feared no one would believe them. Now, whether those reports were genuine independent encounters or influenced by Bethel's widely circulated story does remain one of the central debates around the black-eyed children. As the story spread across early internet forums, it undoubtedly shaped the public awareness. Once people knew what black-eyed children were supposed to look like, later witnesses may have interpreted unusual experiences through that newly established framework. At the same time, some correspondents insisted that they recognized the description because it matched events they had already experienced. At the time, internet communities devoted to ghosts, UFOs, unexplained mysteries, and paranormal investigations were starting to expand rapidly. Personal stories that once might have remained local could suddenly reach thousands of readers within days.
So, I guess my question is, or, I might be jumping ahead a little bit. We'll see. Like, what are they?
We don't know.
Like, are they... So, my thoughts are they, like, demons? Or are they, like... when people kind of talk about a thing and it kind of just creates out of existence?
Yes,
I don't know the actual term for that, but...
My brain is so scrambled. I literally have said it like 5 other times throughout this podcast. I'm like, a blah, 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 when the belief of something creates something. And for whatever reason, I'm blanking right now.
Like a manifestation.
Yeah, there's
almost.
like a specific name. An egregore. There it is.
Yes.
Okay. My brain is on a lag, apparently. The medulla oblongata was delayed. The egregore. Yeah, we don't know what it is. We don't know what they are. After I finish this little evidence versus non-evidence skepticism blah 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 bit, I do get into more stories that people have encountered.
All right.
But basically, that's why, like, some people have thought maybe they were vampire or vampire-esque because they ask to be let inside.
They have qualities of.
Right. If you heard that
sense.
little cat meow, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
She went meow. She jumped up, and I don't know if it came through the mics, but...
She's sniffing my hair.
She's sniffing my hair. But some people do suggest that maybe demons, which I feel like personally might track the most.
Yeah.
Some sort of, like, demonic entity-esque that, like, manifests. Especially because I feel like we've heard so many stories of, like, a demonic entity presenting itself as a kid.
Child.
Yeah, so I feel like it tracks the best, but we just don't know.
We don't know for sure.
Now, with Bethel's account spreading quickly, readers immediately noticed several unusual features. The encounter contained remarkably little action, yet everybody consistently described it as deeply unsettling. Now, skeptics, however, viewed these new reports differently. Anybody else that came forward with, like, I had a similar experience, the skeptics basically were like, once you become familiar with the original story, your encounter might have been influenced by it.
In a way.
Right. This is a thing.
Fair enough.
And it's actually a phenomenon that's documented in folklore studies. Is once a compelling narrative enters popular culture, future experiences are often interpreted through its framework. The process is not deliberate or dishonest. Memory itself is reconstructive, so people frequently incorporate later information into earlier memories without even realizing it. The phenomenon known as memory conformity has been demonstrated repeatedly in psychological research. And basically, it's like rather than functioning like a video recording, human memory is reconstructive. Each time a person recalls an event, the brain rebuilds the memory from stored pieces of information. During this process, new details can sometimes be incorporated into the original memory. Psychologists have demonstrated that people may unknowingly alter their recollections after hearing another person's version of events, reading news articles, viewing photographs, or discussing the experience with others. These changes are often subtle, and the individual usually believes the revised memory is entirely accurate. A famous example comes from psychologist Elizabeth Loftus, whose decades of research showed how easily memory can be influenced by suggestion. In one experiment, participants watched footage of a car accident and were later asked questions using different wording. Those who were asked how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other consistently estimated higher speeds than those who heard the word hit each other. Many participants later reported seeing broken glass at the scene, even though none existed in the original footage. This phenomenon is especially relevant when examining the black-eyed children because once Brian Bethel's account became popular, some later witnesses may have unconsciously compared their own experiences to the now familiar story.
Fair enough.
Right. Now the question is, did similar stories exist before 1996? Researchers have pointed to medieval tales of changelings, Victorian ghost children, Native American spirit stories, and vampire folklore as possible predecessors. While these traditions sometimes involve children, none describe accounts match exactly. I fucked that sentence up so hard.
Perfect English. 10 out of 10.
That's what I wrote. That's not even me just saying it. None of the accounts exactly match the stories of the black-eyed children. There are also no verified newspaper articles, police reports, court records, diaries, or historical documents that have been found that clearly describe children with completely black eyes approaching strangers and asking to enter their homes before 1996. Now, the absence of any type of report does not mean that encounters never occurred. History is filled with undocumented events.
Of course.
Even though it was popularized by Brian Bethel's story, it doesn't discredit other reports by any means. By the early 2000s, reports were emerging from nearly every region in the US, and even in Canada, the UK, Australia, and other parts of Europe. Several of Alabama's most frequently repeated black-eyed children stories originate in the northern portion of the state. These reports often share a similar setting, like a motorist traveling along a barely populated road after dark. There's no traffic, just trees on either side. And then a child or a small group of children suddenly appear near the shoulder of the road. In one frequently circulated account, a driver reportedly noticed two children standing beside a rural highway long after sunset. Concerned for their safety, the driver slowed down to offer assistance. Before stopping completely, however, an overwhelming feeling of unease prompted them to remain inside their vehicle. Only then did the driver reportedly notice the children's entirely black eyes. They then accelerated away before any conversation even occurred. The Birmingham metropolitan
That wasn't even remotely close.
Metropolitan area. Dude, I genuinely don't know what is going on with me today. My brain is like on a vacation somewhere.
Valid.
The Birmingham metropolitan area,
there you go,
has also produced several alleged encounters over the past 2 decades. One story describes the children approaching a parked vehicle outside a shopping center shortly after businesses had closed for the evening. The children requested a ride and behaved politely throughout the interaction. The witness claimed to experience an immediate feeling that something was terribly wrong. Only after several moments did the witness notice the children's eyes. The Mobile area possesses one of the richest collection of ghost stories in the United States, with centuries of French, Spanish, British, and American history contributing to the local folklore. So if it is a case of memory combining with other known stories, you might expect the black-eyed children reports from the region to incorporate older supernatural traditions. But instead, they largely follow the same format found elsewhere. And there are countless encounters online about people experiencing them. I went to Reddit and I found a ton of them, but they were in groups that asked not to use their stories to like farm for your podcast. I was like, fine. Like, I get it. I totally understand. But also, like, it's Reddit and some of them are so good. But nonetheless, one I did find that I actually believe was originally shared by the Scared to Death podcast and later referenced elsewhere. So I couldn't find the exact origin, but I'm pretty sure it was Scared to Death podcast. That one talks about a man named Keith who was mowing his lawn. He noticed his flowers had been disturbed. The next day, he saw 2 unfamiliar kids, around 14 or 15. They were walking down his road, but he decided to ignore them. Later that night, however, during a power outage, Keith heard a knock at his door. He saw 2 kids with pitch black eyes through the peephole, which terrified him. They demanded to be let in, claiming that they needed to borrow a phone. Keith offered to bring a phone outside to them, but the kids insisted on entering and even started banging on the door.
Ew.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Despite feeling intense urge to comply, Keith managed to lock the door. The kids' banging and distorted screams continued, but stopped when he checked the back door. He grabbed his shotgun, and when he went back to look, he found that the kids had vanished. He did tell his neighbor who had come to check on him, but did not report the incident to police, fearing disbelief.
Fair enough.
So you might be asking, what happens if you let them in? Most of the documented cases do end with no one letting them in. There is one supposed story that involves an elderly couple in Vermont.
No.
Yeah. Like, I got a little chills when I was reading it, you know?
Oh, here we go.
So, the elderly couple heard the sound of 3 loud knocks on their door. When they opened the door, they saw 2 children, a boy and a girl, who said, "Our parents will be here soon, may we come in?" The children did not make eye contact, just stood there in the doorway. And at first, the elderly couple was hesitant to let them in, but after a while, they did decide to let them inside.
Oh, no.
The kids settled on the couch, and while the wife made some hot cocoa, the husband started asking them questions that went completely unanswered. The wife returned and noticed that her cat was acting pretty unusually to the children, like that angry, scared response.
Okay.
When the children asked to use the restroom, the wife finally got a look at them and noticed the children's eyes were completely black. She directed them to the bathroom and returned to her husband, who was covering his face with his hands, and asked, "Did you see their eyes?" The husband then showed her his hand full of blood from a nosebleed. Then the power went out.
Oh!
The wife headed towards the restroom to bring the kids back and heard the voice of the kids at the end of the hall saying, "Our parents are here." The kids then exited the house, leaving the door wide open. She noticed that at the end of the driveway, there were 2 tall, very slender men standing at the bottom of the driveway. The wife waved, but did not receive anything in return. The 2 men and children then drove away in a car. Now, the power did come back on a little bit after the kids left, and throughout the next week, weird things happened in the house. 3 out of 4 cats went missing, and the 4th had been found dead in a pool of its own blood. The husband continued to have nosebleeds and finally went to the doctor, where he was diagnosed with very aggressive skin cancer. This legend even landed in the UK, where in 2014, the Daily Star wrote 3 front-page stories about sightings of the black-eyed children in the haunted pub of Staffordshire.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Many authors of the paranormal believe that allowing the children inside result in illness, bad luck, paranormal activity, and overall just terrible things to happen to you. Would you let them inside?
Absolutely not.
If 2 kids walked up to my door with completely black eyes, I'd be like,
No.
"Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, no. No.
No, not happening. That is all I have for the black-eyed children. Do you think it's an actual encounter, or are you like, eh? I wish I could have shared more Reddit encounters.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it completely increases the believability of it. But
yeah.
nonetheless, still, it's one of those things where it's like I talked a lot about the idea of like people's experiences getting filtered through other things they've already read.
Yes.
It's like, so do you think?
I think it could be a egregore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it didn't start off as a thing, but as people
yeah.
have believed, it's kind of like manifested itself into being something.
Yeah, I wonder if almost like the original story, if it was just maybe like a spirit or something that appeared to him.
Possibly.
And then as it spread, it's actually created
something.
Some type of entity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense to me, at least. But we don't know.
No, we don't know.
I kind of want to experience it just so I can be like, oh my god, that's so true. But I also...
No,
that'd
No.
be terrifying. Yeah. That's all I have. So you can close us out.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Go check out our Patreon. We have a link somewhere.
Yes, in our show notes.
In the show notes. There we go.
Usually. I'm not always the best about remembering to put it in there. I actually told Cass to message me and be like, put the Patreon link in the show notes.
If you've had any personal experience with black-eyed children, we would love to hear about it. Email us.
Yes, email us at investigatingwithus@gmail.com. Or even if you just have any spooky stories, because for October, I want to read a bunch of spooky stories for the podcast because it's October. It's spooky month.
It's spooky month.
Right. So email it to us.
And don't go too far because we'll catch you in the next investigation. Bye.
Bye.